I'm going to close that door behind you. All right, good morning. Thank you, first of all, our local media partners, for being here for this briefing on Hurricane Dorian. We appreciate what you do in the community to get the word out. When we educate the public and the community about hurricane preparedness, we tell them to watch the local media. We also tell them to get a battery-operated radio so they can listen to your stations if you simulcast. So I ask you to remind your viewers that if you do simulcast over the radio, what station you do that on so that they can tune in when they lose cable and power. Presently, Hurricane Dorian is still in the Atlantic. It's ramping up to Category 2, approaching Category 3 strength. It's moving to the northwest at 10 miles per hour, 110 mile an hour winds. As it approaches the coast, we'll be getting more information from the Hurricane Center and the National Weather Service. So Sarasota County continues to adjust our plans based on the information we're getting from the Weather Service. Starting at this morning at 8 o'clock, Sarasota County declared a local state of emergency, and that does not mean an emergency is imminent or there's a threat that's imminent. It means it's an administrative action so we can begin expending emergency funds, and we can also put resources in place prior to the storm's arrival, similar to what the state of Florida did and what the president will do eventually once the governor requests that. Starting at noon today, some of Sarasota County's customer service operations will start to shut down early to transition ourselves into the emergency operations status and to allow our employees to take care of things and transition into their emergency role over the weekend. The list of those facilities that will be closing down will be provided to the local media. It will be posted on our website and our social media sites as well. The SCGov website has transitioned into the storm site. So when you go to www.scgov.net, all storm-related information will be captured there. Some of the offices that I will mention are the libraries, permitting, utilities, billing, and so forth. But the complete list will be provided. Parks will remain open today and will close throughout the weekend. SCAT services will continue through today and be modified to accommodate tomorrow. As we continue to monitor the storm, we will make determinations on any evacuations, opening evacuation centers, and the transportation dependent program. As a minimum, we are providing sandbags. As a reminder, we are providing sandbags at Ed Smith Stadium, Twin Lakes Park, and the Ed Smith baseball stadium. The South County Fleet Facility is located at 4571 State Road 776. It's also known as Inglewood Road. That information is also on our website. There's still a lot of time for residents to prepare for Hurricane Dorian. You need to prepare your home. You need to make sure you have a plan and pick up the necessary supplies and make the decision on whether you're going to stay or evacuate based on what you know the storm is bringing and what your home can handle. When the county makes announcements on which evacuation centers or whether or not we're opening evacuation centers, that information will be provided as well. We encourage everyone to follow our social media channels, Facebook and Twitter, and of course our local media partners. For additional information, they can call the contact center at 861-5000 if they don't find the information they're looking for on the website. We began this morning as well calling all of our medically dependent, otherwise known as people with special needs, to make sure that they are safe and that if they had any questions or concerns. And in the event that we had to evacuate, we gave them some instructions on how that would take place and how we would support that. At this time, I'll take any questions that you might have.
Are there any plans to open shelters for refugees from the East Coast?
That is called the Host Shelter Program. At this time, the state has not requested any of that from us because they're not exactly sure where the storm is going to go. I think once they get a better idea of the actual track of the storm, they can identify areas within the state that would be safe to evacuate those folks to. And I know that's taking place. They just have not been able to make that determination yet. Of course, we want to keep areas that are threatened, their shelters available for their own citizens first and foremost, but when that comes available, we will definitely support it if that's the case.
How difficult is it to plan with this storm where you really don't know where it's going or what it's doing?
It is very difficult to do this. However, I think our method of doing that is early on we look at worst case scenario, best case scenario, and what's most likely going to happen. And we put those plans in place. A lot of times we call it leaning forward, but not going too far. We have everything in place to do evacuation centers, to move the medical dependent, to do all the things that we need to do for the worst case, but we haven't necessarily had to put them in play yet. We'll continue to watch the storm, and at some point we will make that determination and we'll take action. Fortunately, we do have time. The storm has slowed down. It's going to give us an opportunity to adjust our plans. We're more fortunate than those that are on the East Coast right now that have a little less time than we do and a bigger threat. The good news about a track like this for us is that storm surge is not a real threat from a storm that's going to maybe go up the spine of Florida. So that's one less factor. We would be looking at winds of tropical storm, hurricane strength maybe, which would call for a mobile home, RV evacuation, and also the rain threat would cause us to want to evacuate low-lying areas prone to flooding, but not necessarily the barrier islands and all those that are normally on a storm that's threatening us from the Gulf.
Did 11 o'clock change what you were doing at all? I know Manatee was talking about Sunday opening some shelters.
The 11 o'clock gave us some better information, and also the graphic that shows the earliest arrival of winds and the most likely arrival of winds. Those graphs really help us. And we do a conference call webinar with a slide package, briefing package from the National Weather Service in Ruskin every 6 hours. And we did one at 7 a.m. We're going to do one at 1 p.m. And they provide what they anticipate the impacts to be locally. And that really helps us with our planning. But it really didn't adjust anything. It kind of confirmed what our plans are. And if it continues that way, we will execute those plans and announce them to the public when that time comes.
You know, we're starting to see some lowing of supplies in stores. With the storm slowing down, do we know, have you guys been in communication with any of those and if new shipments of things like water and gas are going to be coming in?
Yes, we've had some good meetings with Publix representatives. They're doing everything they can. You can imagine the demand for a storm like this. They're doing everything they can to stock up their supplies. All the stores are. And this is important, why we ask people to do this in the beginning of hurricane season, to have those supplies. So they're not rushing out and depleting everything in the stores when the storm is threatening us. Also, a lot of people overdo it and take 5 or 6 cases, of water. When they could probably take what they need and leave it for others. So it's a difficult time. Same thing with fuel. You've got people evacuating. They're going to use up a lot of the fuel. And it's difficult for tankers to make that many turnarounds to refill those stations. So everybody just needs to be patient and do their best to try to get those supplies.
Anyone else?
All right, thank you very much.
All right, guys, thank you. We don't have the next briefing scheduled just yet, but we'll definitely give you plenty of heads up when we do, if it calls for it. So thank you, appreciate it.
Finish.